Polish artists are active on the international market, including in Germany, the United Kingdom and the United States. They appear in numerous private galleries in Berlin, London and Los Angeles. In terms of the global potential of the artists we work with, it's worth highlighting that Poland currently ranks 5th in the world when it comes to contemporary art. This is a remarkable achievement and demonstrates that our artists and the work we do every day are truly being recognized. We're not just talking about what's happening in our own backyard, we're also showcasing this potential abroad. We also work with a clientele that goes beyond the borders of our country, and this art is being noticed internationally. Some artists who once started their careers under the wings of Dessa are now selling at major auction houses like Christie's and Sotheby's. We have been organising young art auctions for 17 years. The first one took place in 2008, and in 2024 we held our milestone 200th auction, a perfect moment to reflect and summarise the project. In the Polish market, we have been the leading force in the sale of young art. We organised the very first auction of this kind, and since then these events have been gaining increasing popularity. In fact, year after year, more and more people are drawn to the idea of auctions, and many feel a growing desire to have art in their homes. The core idea behind these auctions was to open the market to new audiences, to attract new collectors. We wanted to promote the work of young artists while giving emerging collectors a chance to start building their own collections and to purchase their first artwork. A crucial first step was setting a relatively low starting price, making it possible to begin bidding without requiring significant financial resources. We started with a minimum bid of 500 Polish zloty. Today it's 1,000 Polish zloty, and at every auction all artworks begin at this price. At Dessa, I coordinate the Young Art Auctions, a project we've been developing for several years. It's based on inviting young artists to collaborate with us, with the goal of supporting their careers, introducing them to the art market, and showcasing the incredible potential that Poland has, both in terms of artistic talent and the growing community of collectors and people who are just beginning their art journey. Each auction features around 90 artworks, and since we organise 2 auctions per month, the volume is indeed quite significant. What's especially important, and something I always emphasise, is that each artwork represents an individual artist. This means that our daily work isn't just about talking about the art market or highlighting trends, but above all about maintaining direct, ongoing contact with artists. So if we have about 90 pieces per auction and 2 auctions a month, that adds up to roughly 2,000 artworks per year. Some works are sold at prices several times higher than their starting bids. I've had the great pleasure of serving as an auctioneer at Dessa Unicum for the past 2 years. It's an incredibly rewarding role, full of adrenaline and challenges, requiring focus and composure, but it brings me immense joy. Prices for young artists' work can reach record-breaking levels. For example, one piece sold for 66,000 Polish zloty, even though every artwork starts with a minimum bid of just 1,000 Polish zloty. This alone demonstrates the enormous potential of this market. Since the beginning of the Young Art Auctions, the total turnover has exceeded 46 million Polish zloty, a remarkable figure. Beyond this financial success, it clearly shows the immense potential of what we're doing, what the artists are creating, and how dynamically this segment of the art market is growing here in Poland. Young art is typically purchased based on 3 key aspects: the visual appeal, what someone simply likes, the emotional response it evokes, the content and meaning it carries for the viewer, and the potential for the artwork to gain value over time. When choosing a piece, it's important to ask whether it sparks positive emotions, whether you genuinely like it, and whether you'd enjoy seeing it every day. For those interested in its investment value, it's worth keeping up with the artist's current career path, paying attention to their education, the exhibitions they participate in, and whether their works are entering institutional or private collections. The boom in young artists in Poland really began in the 21st century, and I believe this is closely linked to our country's political and economic transformation. The Polish art market is much younger than that of Western Europe, largely due to historical circumstances. In terms of young art specifically, the first real breakthrough came with the young art auctions, which gave emerging artists access to the market. Traditionally, the market responded only to those who had already achieved success. What we did was offer a starting point to those just finishing their studies at the Academy of Fine Arts, or even still in school. One particularly important artist in our new art project is Magda Berbeka. She's a perfect example of how a career can evolve through the auction process. She began her journey with the Young Art Auction, where she presented her wooden sculptures. Later, we showcased her work in our Art Today Curator's Choice auctions, a series where we feature young artists who already show greater investment potential, are exhibiting widely, and have achieved recognition in national art competitions.
Większy potencjał inwestycyjny, którzy odnoszą sukcesy wystawiennicze i mają osiągnięcia w ogólnopolskich konkursach.
I won't hide that I also try to play a bit with the viewer, to draw them into my world and provoke them to pause for a moment and really immerse themselves in looking. I graduated from the Kenar School of Fine Arts in Zakopane, then went on to study sculpture at the Academy of Fine Arts in Warsaw, and later completed my master's degree in photography and multimedia at the Academy of Fine Arts in Łódź. I became interested in sculpture very early on because at the Kenar School there is a strong emphasis on working with wood, which is a local tradition. The school provides a very solid practical foundation in this craft. Kenar School is my alma mater. Although it is technically a high school for the arts, it offers extensive training in craftsmanship.
Ale otrzymuje się tam duży warsztat, jeżeli chodzi o rzemiosło.
Sculpting can generally be done in two ways. One is additive, for example, working with clay to create a model that can later be cast in bronze. The other is subtractive, working by removing material, such as carving wood or stone. Honestly, I feel much closer to the subtractive method. I just feel that this way of expressing myself runs in my veins.
Ten sposób wypowiedzi płynie w moich żyłach.
When I'm searching for where to strike the chisel to reveal the shape, it's pure joy for me. The true pleasure of sculpting. In my work, I often reference the Zakopane School, Art Deco, and the creations of August Zamoyski. But I don't copy them literally. I try to take quotes from these motifs and combine them with abstraction and a synthesis of form, avoiding repetition or tautology.
Żeby nie robić powtórzeń, nie robić takiej tautologii.
One theme that keeps coming back is mythology and ancient Greece. I think what interests me most in life are passions. And in those ancient Greek figures, I find that intensity. Characters torn by fate and emotions. That inspires me deeply, and I return to it often. I take my work very seriously and spend at least 8 hours a day in the studio, including Saturdays. Yet I still feel it's not enough. Sculpting a roughly 90-centimeter piece in marble takes about 3 months of daily work from morning until night. Maybe in the future I'll work faster, but I also find extraordinary pleasure in working with this material. It's like this. I wake up, go to the studio, work on the sculpture, go home, and fall asleep thinking about the marble. I wake up thinking about it, and I'm really immersed in the process right until the very last moment, the final polish. So this is something I become deeply attached to the material itself. And when the moment comes that I have to give up the sculpture, it's always a mix of emotions. Working in the arts is a very tough challenge, and I think the biggest struggle for young artists is balancing earning a living with their creative work. The greatest dream for many young artists is to be able to make a living from their art. But breaking into the art market is not easy. The hardest part is probably managing a full-time job alongside creating art, because creating is more than just a full-time job. It requires complete dedication. I was incredibly lucky to meet people along the way who believed in me and helped me. I think those are the two key things for achieving some kind of success: being determined and fully committed so that your dedication shows in your work, and a bit of luck.
Jakiegoś sukcesu, że bycie zdeterminowanym i poświęcenie się właśnie, żeby ta determinacja była widoczna w pracy, no i trochę szczęścia.
My biggest artistic dream is probably growth.
Tak naprawdę
I want it never to stop at any stage.
żeby to się nigdy nie zatrzymało.
I believe art is such a beautiful field that it allows continuous development. I have remained loyal to the young artists who mostly come from the Academy of Fine Arts in Kraków. Of course, we also have young artists from Katowice and Warsaw, but Kraków is the most important to me. I see that this also defines the character of our gallery. People here don't look for artists from other regions of Poland. They come here for art from the Kraków environment. I started working with young artists because, first of all, it's something that is born anew, something to discover, which is very interesting. For many years, even before having a clearly defined gallery profile, I always went to the year-end exhibitions at the Kraków Academy of Fine Arts. What I saw there gave me a picture of contemporary art, but not just art, also of the feelings and emotions experienced by young people, which was very appealing to me. Of course, I began inviting these artists to the gallery, and collectors indicated to me that this was the most sought-after direction, that there was the greatest interest in emerging artists. By inviting them here and showing their art, I saw the interaction with collectors, and that collectors were precisely looking for this kind of art. So, on one hand, the gallery's profile was shaped by my emotions and interests, and on the other by the collectors and art lovers who came to the gallery and showed me this was what interested them most. The works that young artists create, for example, as diploma pieces around the age of 25 to 26, are works that they often cannot surpass later. At that time, their emotions are the purest, most vivid and deepest, and this is recorded in those artworks. It is very important for a young artist that collectors take an interest in their work at the right moment, around the end of their studies, and start buying. Financial compensation for their effort is very important because it allows them to live and continue creating. Supporting young artists is our mission here, to give them the best possible start and to ensure the interest of collectors, which for the next 10 to 20 years will fuel their further creativity.
Zainteresowanie kolekcjonerów, które przez najbliższych 10-20 lat będzie im dawać to paliwo do dalszych.
Our focus on young creators is not unusual, as the global art market is also centered on young artists. The term emerging artists refers to this group, and they currently represent the majority of transactions in art markets.
większościowy procent transakcyjny na rynkach
It is
sztuki.
said that the greatest collector interest is focused now on artists born roughly between 1975 and
Oni
1980.
robią jakby ten duży obrót. Na artystach urodzonych od 1975 roku to mniej więcej
We
1980.
push that boundary further by looking for even younger artists and organizing winter salons for creators under 30.
Szukamy jeszcze młodszych, robiąc salony zimowe dla twórców przed 30 rokiem
Most of the young artists in our gallery are actually under 30 years old.
Młodych artystów tak naprawdę u nas ma mniej niż 30 lat.
Back in high school, I was actually in a graphic design program, which I'm not involved with anymore, but the art school gave me access to a painting studio. That's when I really got hooked. It became clear to me that I had to pursue painting without a doubt. Those 5 years showed me that I definitely want to stay in what I do, and that painting is incredibly important to me. Studying here at the Academy definitely opened up a greater sensitivity to figuration within me. That's the theme I focus on most now. From the very first year when we worked a lot with models, it became clear to me that this was the direction I wanted to pursue for the long term. Over these 5 years, painting the human body has become my main form of expression, something very important to me. From the very beginning of my studies, oil painting accompanied me. It's a classic medium through which I express myself. I paint realistically, so both the technique and the themes I explore work together well. I approach painting in a somewhat conservative way. What the Academy also gave me was the opportunity to experiment more in the drawing studio. I started exploring different techniques and discovered that colored pencils and gouache are wonderful mediums. Although colored pencils can sometimes seem quite childlike, they are actually fantastic for expressing the themes I'm interested in. As a young artist, I see contemporary art as a medium for discussion, something we should talk about and which now has space to be talked about, which makes me very happy. Our generation definitely has its own language, because art has always been a commentary on what happens around us, and now it's a commentary on the times we live in. With my paintings, I always try to engage in a dialogue with the viewer. At least in my experience, this is my favorite aspect of painting or any art, the conversation that emerges afterward. I paint with certain thoughts I'm eager to share, but often before someone knows those thoughts, they interpret the work personally and develop their own reflections. I want my paintings to open up discussions. I also enjoy talking about my work and love engaging in conversations with other artists. I truly want my art to provoke various discussions. I believe young artists today have a lot of freedom to maneuver on a global scale, mainly because we communicate through social media. Young art is now enthusiastically exhibited in galleries, and there's more space to invest in art. From what I've observed, investors play an important role by buying young art, because you never know which names will grow in prominence. These works haven't yet reached incredible prices, so it seems natural to invest in young art now, since there's room for growth.
działaniem, żeby jednak tą młodą sztukę kupować, że na to jest przestrzeń teraz.
In our gallery, paintings definitely dominate. Painting sells more easily and attracts much greater interest. Sculpture is a more demanding medium because it requires having a special space at home, in an office or in a public building. So, we have fewer sculptures, but we are very proud that among our artists is Dorota Bojarska, whom we value the most. Again, I can say that collectors confirm that our choice is the right one. She presented huge ceramic heads of animals, exotic tropical animals, positioned with their snouts facing downward, as if drinking water at a watering hole. These sculptures are made of ceramic, and their large scale means the technical challenge is extraordinarily well solved. Moreover, the craftsmanship of these heads is outstanding, with every detail, including the eyes and nostrils, beautifully executed. For young or very young artists right now, these are very good times because everyone is searching for their works. You can see this at the year-end exhibitions, for example at the Academy of Fine Arts, where crowds of people come from all over Poland to see what has been created in those studios. Many quiet transactions take place. People come specifically to buy young art, looking for stars or hidden gems that might turn out to be a perfect hit and the best purchase later on.
Dane dzieło może się okazać, że było jakby tym strzałem w dziesiątkę i najlepszym zakupem.
I am very proud, yes, I can say that, of the artists I have in the gallery, especially these young creators in their 20s. Perhaps a wonderful future awaits them, but what they are doing right now is impressive and above average.
Jest zachwycające i ponadprzeciętne.
As Poles, we can be proud of our artists.
Dumni z naszych artystów.